Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Observable Flutter. My name is Craig Labenz, and I'm your host. And today I am fresh off, also live streaming just one day ago, a pretty fun Q&A for the Flutter 3.38 and Dart 3.10 releases. I have a few fun tricks up my sleeves today. I have a surprise guest coordinated over Blue Sky. Those of you on Blue Sky will not be surprised, but coordinated very recently as well. So I don't even have a thumbnail for him, unfortunately, but I'm excited nonetheless. So first of all, folks, do recall that this is the Flutter community. We all know what that means. We have a high standard. We're going to hold ourselves to it. All right. I don't have a slide for the guest today because he offered his services so spontaneously, which was just the best. And so it is my great pleasure to welcome the one and only Kevin Moore to the stage. Kevin, welcome to Observable Flutter.
Thank you so much for having me, Craig. It's been a while. We did build stuff. Has it been a year?
It's been a minute. Longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we're doing Flutter Webby things, which is good. This is actually what I work on. Like this is I'm excited.
Yeah, your build show or not build show, your build runner build in general, just package build, even below build runner. That's your efforts there are totally just kind of best effort, when you have free time, right? Which I don't know who has free time.
I should be really careful and also very I'm very lucky. So I bootstrapped a bunch of that silly many years ago just because I was scratching an itch in a project I was working on, and I won't waste time getting into all those details. But it was taken over by actually competent engineers, which is great. So Nate and Jake did a bunch of that work for a long time, and now David Morgan, our favorite Brit living in Switzerland.
I didn't know he was British.
Yes, I think so. Yes, he is very British. He is driving most of that work, and so when you hear all these great things about the performance of Build Runner improving and all this work, he is driving all that work. So the only thing that I lightly maintain is JSON serializable, which again I'm happy to get pull requests. I'd rather get pull requests than issues, but I'm not spending a lot of time on that, as much time as I think people would like me to, honestly. But no, most of my time is working on Flutter Web things. So just after talking to Michael, my boss, about all the important Flutter Web things I need to get done by end of year, he's like, just focus on these 3 things. I was like, great, on it. Then I said, oh yeah, sure, I'll get a live stream with Craig. But right after this, I'm talking to Kate about other important things. So I'm time boxing you, Craig, but this is something I'm excited to work about.
Well, that's fair, and reminds me of one of my favorite jokes from, what's the movie? Naked Gun, I believe, where you can tell how old this movie is because O.J. Simpson is still a in good standing actor in the movie. And at the start of the movie, he is mugged and in a hospital, and Frank Drebin, which is Leslie Nielsen's character,
R.I.P.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They go into, talk to him and console him, and they're like, "Don't you worry, O.J. Simpson's character name. None of us are going to rest. None of us will rest a wink until we figure out who did this. Now let's all go get a bite to eat."
We're just old enough, exactly. all of our middle American memories of things. So all those around the world who don't know what Naked Gun is, don't go watch it now because I'm guessing it aged poorly.
I think it's actually still pretty good, other than
I think so.
Having O.J. Simpson.
Gratuitous. Exactly. That's good.
Okay, so you on Blue Sky proposed that we play with some of the new web proxy stuff newly available in Flutter 3.38. And I said to myself, I said, that's a good idea. So here we are. And I'm going to switch. Actually, I need to share my screen. It's been a minute since I've had a guest. I forgot how to do this. Yeah, I got to do this one. This button here, share screen. There we go. I'll do an entire screen, I believe. Oh, both of them are coming up blank, so that's unfortunate. Could I do a whole screen, please?
Should I join?
That's the wrong screen.
Yeah.
Reach
I didn't set this up correctly for like my YouTube and everything else. So I'm going to join our live stream page, and I'm going to turn off the video quality at nothing.
There we are.
I can chat here.
Here we are.
Hold on.
All right. So, dearest Kevin Moore, we're going to do some web proxy stuff. Now, I have already updated. I think I'm actually on the new beta already, because yesterday I needed something that was not below 3.38, and we accidentally released a beta version of, I needed something not below 3.10 for Dart, and we accidentally released the beta version of Dart yesterday. So I'm already on the beta. I don't know if that is presumably not going to make a difference unless there's even more juice there that would, give us an even.
I fixed a bug fix. So in theory now you could set up your configuration to host an IPv6 address. I fixed a bug on that. If you're into that.
I'm not. Kev, I've never done anything with IPv6 in my life. Maybe I lack the nerd credentials. IPv4 just feels cozy to me, and
that's because you are Craig, the list of ways you're privileged. You're white and male and everything else, and also you live in a country where they're giving out whole class A subnets to universities. MIT is 18 dot. I think that's right.
Wow.
MIT just got 18 dot. They got a whole
every single IP under 18 dot is theirs.
Was MIT. I think they reallocated it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If
they didn't hoard them all for themselves forever.
So the problem is you have all these people in Africa now who are effectively natted, like whole cities, like regions are natted, and then you have one bad actor in that region who does something horrible on the internet, right? And then all the internet logic turns on to block that bad actor, and you end up blocking like a whole region of a country somewhere in Africa because of IPv4 dominance. So IPv6 awareness, making sure you're hosting and available in IPv6. This is actually an important thing. And again, another way we are privileged.
Interesting.
With our
I didn't know any of
this. Yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah.
There's a
Sven, don't start with me. I'll come wherever you are, and Dash will mess you up. I'll bring Gopher with me.
There's a dissenting opinion in the chat. All right. Yes. So we're going to do some web proxy things. And as is tradition, I did not type -- platforms web because I never remember to do that, which means everyone gets to watch me delete these non-web projects, these directories, and then we'll do some stuff.
Just fun updates on the website. So forever, our getting started guide on Flutter, lots of people want to do mobile with Flutter, and that's spectacular. But it takes, if you're brand new setup and you don't have Xcode or Android Studio, it takes a while. And so our wonderful Parker did the work so that now the Bootstrap is just web only. So we have hot reload on the web, which is great. You talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And
definitely. We've beat that to smithereens.
Yes. It was fun talking because we talked about, should we do a test run of hot reload on the web, preview it in May and then launch it in August? I was like, yes, because then we can double dip on the announcements. We can announce the preview and then also announce, and it's great. We have thousands of people already doing hot reloads every day on the web. So people are finding it and they're loving the hot reload, which we're glad about. And we're fixing bugs. Keep the bugs. If you're having issues with hot reload on the web, send file issues, Flutter. Tell us your problems. Nick and a bunch of other folks are very excited to get things fixed. We've already fixed some bugs. So keep it up.
And we kind of triple dipped on the announcement because this time the announcement was you can also do hot reload with web proxy. No devices found.
Well, you can do.
Whoa. Oh, yeah, web. No, it's web server. I have the word proxy.
Well, you can just do Chrome if you want to. And it'll load up your own version of Chrome.
I know, but I went a very long time in the Flutter world and never used - web server. So I'm excited about it. I didn't know it was a thing. So where do I put this web config file? Just in my root?
In the root of your project there, yeah. I would actually recommend, I know you're juggling windows here. Open up are you just sharing the window? No, sharing your whole window. Awesome. Yeah, open up the doc page.
Yeah, I
good
just
docs
searched
there.
for it. I
I
will
can send you the
absolutely be
URL
bringing that
too.
in.
Config. It's web configuration. Web
Okay.
dev config file. Should I just chat it in the YouTube chat? I think people will appreciate that, maybe. You can pick that up.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll also put this in, I'll make a banner for this for everybody.
Awesome.
Because YouTube likes to eat chats. Oh, it didn't eat your chat. I guess that's because you're a mod.
I'm a mod.
So this is, you may recognize the URL on the bottom of the screen from the URL on the top of the screen. So that's how you find where we're looking at all this stuff. So I'm going to make a web dev config YAML file, and we're putting it in the project root.
And of course, again, for the third time, Sydney and Salem, shout out our wonderful interns this summer who did all this work.
Yeah, shout them out.
This was feature creep. Initially, I did not want them to do a config file. I was like, just finish the proxy work, because the proxy work is what I really wanted. Me as the demanding product manager. And they're like, there's so many things to configure and do things. We should have a config file. I was like, fine. So they did all this stuff.
All right. So this is kind of bare bones already. So 8080 is the default port normally. Oh no, we got a random port.
That's because you started the server before you had the config file, buddy.
Well, for sure. But I thought when you did web-server, it just used 8080 every time. But no, I guess it uses a random port. So we'll already be able to see that it works. The file is saved. I'm not doing anything else, not pointing to it. Okay. It's just going to look for it on its own. At least that's
now, if you're on your court machine, it might yell at you about doing 000 because that's any IP, which in theory would allow people. I guess no, I bet it'll allow you to do it, but I don't think you'll. I won't be able to reference hit your server, probably over the internet. Oh, there you go.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna open and haha. So this is the thing that I didn't know about for a very long time, and is how you. Is this the only way to test Flutter Web, like in other browsers? You have to do this.
Web server, yeah. So web server,
yeah.
Because if you do -d Chrome, well, and it's there's trade-offs here. So if you do -d Chrome, the nice thing is that wires up all the dev tool stuff for you. So the debugging and the breakpoints and everything are all wired up and good to go. Just fun fact for people who don't do web, we actually emulate the VM's debug protocol and proxy it from Chrome's. So there's a mapping from Chrome's debug protocol into the VM debug protocol. They wrote a mapper so that all the debugging stuff works. So as far as dev tools is concerned, it's talking to another instance of the VM, which is just crazy. So the things you learned today.
I'm about to learn a lot of stuff because this syntax surprised me when I saw this. And so I want to pick your brain about all the edge cases and what you can do and what you can't do.
Okay. And hopefully I can answer them because, again, I reviewed this stuff, but like I haven't played with it myself. So hopefully it all makes sense.
All right. Well, this is a really good time. Oh, here we go. Some regular expressions. Good. What I was literally going to say is I was expecting like blob syntax, and regular expression isn't quite glob. Oh, right. Yeah. Thank you. Regular expression isn't quite that, but of course has even more powers. So I suppose
it's funny. I pushed hard for glob, and they're like, "Well, let's do regex first." So I think it's a feature request. So actually, anyone listening right now, if you want to go add glob support, there is a glob package. I think that might have been one of the issues, which was, do you want to add a dependency in Flutter tool to the glob package? But I think it's already there. But yeah, if someone wants to go hack on and add glob support,
Kev, how did we miss this?
Oh wow. Dart shorthands? Oh, sure. Okay, fine. Yeah.
No, it was right there.
This guy is speaking to you, which is, I mean, it's honestly speaking to a part of me that I really try hard to push down and fully mask at work, which is like, there's a joke here. There's a joke here.
Embrace the shadow self, man.
I can't. Yesterday, how loosey-goosey do you want to be here for the people? Somebody yesterday pointed out that the Mist Universe app was running Flutter. Did you have this? You see this chat?
No, that's
unfortunate. Hey, I'm not. You and I are both. We try to be more progressive gentlemen. So the notion of the stereotypical heteronormative, notions of beauty and beauty pageant, I'm not a big fan. If you're into that, that's fine.
I
you know.
mean, I think there's even lower level issues with anyway, whatever.
But anyway, so
not
someone
into
posted this, and my initial response was,
pageants at
"Well, I
all.
know who I'm voting for," and I posted a video of Miss Chile with no context, and of course, she is a very stereotypically attractive female, and no one reacted to my video, and I was like, "Do people think I'm just being skeezy in the chat?" And I was like, "No, please, 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 click on the video." She won Miss Chile. Do you know why, Craig?
No.
Because she sang death metal for her talent. And so you see her on
Oh,
stage with a death metal guitar player, and she's like, "Raw." And I'm
I
like, I
did
did not. Yeah.
see
So I was like,
that clip, but I didn't write to memory who it was or what.
yes. So everyone on my team is like, Kevin, why are you posting pictures of attractive videos of attractive women to our group chat? I was like, I'm not making inappropriate comments. I'm making tangential comments about we need more death metal and beauty contests. Anyway, so we're talking about the web
Anywho,
file. So I would not use
proxies.
localhost because you don't have a server set up, right? So let's do
Right.
Let's.
I'm going to do that. I
Hub
think
site.
after you leave, I do want to play. I want to like wire this up with Dart Frog. So my first question was why the prefix got to be a relative path, but target was an absolute path like URL. So can they both actually be relative?
You don't want that because. So what is a proxy? We should back up a second now that we've talked about death metal. The reason you want proxying is because it's often really nice. If I have a website like mysite.com, you want to host not only the app content, because it's just static content, Flutter app's just static content, with your dynamic content. So you want to host /API/whatever on the same host. That's awesome and good and beautiful. Now, obviously, with Flutter, if you're doing Flutter Run is the server. Like the Flutter tool is running a shelf server. It's a package shelf. But you probably have other code somewhere. It could be Dart or Go or Python or whatever you want to do as your server. And you want to be able to host them together. So you want to have /API hit a dev server. Like, are you just learning what this feature is that I said we should talk about? You'll be able to hit your API server.
I'm just surprised. It didn't seem to work.
Oh, that's because because you're hitting.
Or do I have to have the trailing slash?
Wait, hold on. Let me explain what this is. You are, I guess maybe that is working. Well, this is weird because we do some other stuff. Hold on, just let me explain. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to hit a API endpoint. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So here, I'm gonna put it in the chat. What is there a private chat? There's a private chat. Here you go. So do that as your target.
Wait, what? Okay. I mean, you could have just said put any like random URL. It could be Google.
And delete packages. And let's do let me think here. Yeah. And now in prefix, put API.
Packages.
No, put API. Just leave it. pub.dev/API is good.
Okay.
Yep. That's your target. And then under prefix, do API.
Okay.
So this is saying is, dear Flutter server, please, if anyone hits API or anything under API, please redirect all those requests to pub.dev/API.
And there's kind of like a, little forward the rest of the request going on here, I imagine.
So that is not the target is the target. That's fine. Prefix is the star. Anything
yeah. Sorry,
API,
I meant
yes. Okay, we're together. But now I don't think we have hot reload for the config file to your server. So I think you have to kill the server and restart. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if we have hot reload. I don't think we hot reload the thing either. You might have to kill your server. This is a good feature request too, which is we should hot reload the config. That's a great feature request. You remember how to do that?
Aren't you glad that I came up with it?
Yeah, I'll give you all the credit.
Video evidence of you coming up with it and me taking credit.
I'm glad Michael is laughing about the death metal bits. Thank you, folks.
Yes, but you know what? I think writing .htaccess files was like the darkest days of my entire life. There has never been a more arcane, miserable syntax than .htaccess. Kev, I trust you agree.
Oh, Apache. You know what? I mostly avoided doing the Apache stuff. I think in my life I avoided mostly. Okay,
So,
so this
Kev,
is already.
I don't know how to tell you this. Nothing's happening.
This is actually, but wait, let's look at the docs. Go back to the docs. Wait, so let's see. In this server, a Dart VM service is running, match API, requesting pub.dev/ASDF. It is. Look, it even says it in the terminal.
Oh, proximate array, match API requesting. Huh. But it didn't.
Oh,
So
because
like,
you're hitting a 404, do/packages. There's another good bug fix, which is because I think if you hit 404s, we will. There you go. That's another good bug. I should be taking notes, right? We are, what's this called? This is
friction
wallowing.
logging.
I guess that's
we're
friction logging.
friction
Totally.
logging. Yeah,
I'm going to friction log into our in corp chat so I don't lose it. So what we talked about already, we should hot reload config and fix because the logic of, so anyway, so people know the logic here is that it's a fall through mechanism, which is if you 404 the proxy, then it's like, oh, never mind. And then it goes back and uses normal routing. And our normal pattern for routing is always load the app. And that's how we do path-based routing in a Flutter app.
That is, yeah, a little confusing.
So
probably not what you would want or expect.
But now here's the interesting thing. So as people might know, you need to be very careful from a web app to go accessing HTTP resources, not in your domain, especially if you're hosted over HTTPS, because cross-site scripting is a thing. And so if you want to hit an asset, you need all these special headers set up so that it allows, it's called CORS, cross-origin request stuff. And that's
second only
to proxy.
The access for not
fun. In terms of, yes. CORS is a newer feature. I mean, it's funny, now that I understand it a bit better, I'd have to ask Gemini to do all the work for me, like to configure it all. I understand why it exists, but yeah, it's a little bit arcane to set up. But now what you see here is, so now I can write my app instead of having to hardwire URLs into things or think about a different production versus development URL path. I can now code to what my production setup will be. So now I can code in Flutter. And so this is, now that I've got you this far, Craig, I can leave. I'd encourage people to go look at the other docs. There's cool things. But now what you can do is you can go write an app, for instance, to show all your pub packages. And you don't have to worry about, does the pub site have the right headers for cross-origin requests and stuff? You don't need to do that. It'll just proxy through. And then the idea is when you host this, my goal at some point is to have a demo of this, which is you host this on, for instance, you'd host this on Firebase hosting, and then you can wire up Cloud Run as your backend. And then it's an analogous configuration to what you see here in the Firebase config, where you're like, oh, anything that goes to /API, send it to this Cloud Run instance. And so now you can have your local server on your local machine and your web app set up and crank along. And then when you deploy it, you deploy your backend bits to Cloud Run and your front end bits to Firebase hosting, for instance. I mean, whatever, do what you like, but those are pretty good for us. And you can have the same configuration locally as you do remotely, because now we have proxy support.
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do for the rest of the time here is add some Dart Frog to this and think about a for realsies setup. And I think that'll be pretty fun.
So yeah, I have to.
Kev, are you on your way out?
I need to go. Yes, I need to go. I'm talking to as other people. Again, I'm keeping it loosey goosey. People talked about moving types or hopefully sharing types, getting some types out of Flutter and putting them in a package so you can use them on backend code or shared code. So I'm going to talk to Kate about how we can figure that out. That's my next meeting. So I need to get to the office. I have 30 minutes to get to the office.
All right.
Because I have other meetings today. But so I'm running, but I'm glad I got you bootstrapped, and I have 2 great feature reports. So I can go ping the interns who are no longer employed or paid by Google and say, hey guys, I'll send you a dash stuffy. I don't know. Maybe folks in the stream here want to
send them a jobs link. Send them a jobs link.
Exactly. We'll get them hired. Well, they're not quite. They're both freshmen. But they did good work. This is cool to see working. So again, props to Sydney and Salem for their work here. Thanks for letting me jump in and make random references to death metal.
Absolutely.
And go build frogs.
Tell Kate I said hi, and we're going to build some frogs. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. See you, Kev.
Ciao, folks.
All right, team. So what this now means is that I can stop sharing my screen and put myself in the corner of the screen, which is always my preferred way to work. Nitesh says, hey, Craig. I was wondering how I could secure my app from attackers, like from rooting, hooking, debugging. Also, what would be the right structure to do so? Let's think here. How do you secure your app from attackers, like from rooting? I'm not sure what hooking is, and I don't know how attackers get you via debugging. So I'm not 100% following here. Nitish, please feel free to repeat this question, but use all new words. We'll try to try to answer what you're getting at. Okay. So I want to add some Dart Frog to this, and I want to explore more stuff with this proxy. Oh yeah, Fritz, great answer here. App check from Firebase is absolutely the gold standard starting point for securing your app. That's a super good answer, even if it's not exactly what Nitish, the problems that Nitish is getting at, because I'm kind of, rooting, hooking, debugging. Oh, is this? Sorry, I have a server context in my brain right now, but I think you're talking about maybe people like jailbreaking your phone or their phone and then or like reverse engineering your app. I believe that is probably what you're talking about. And yes, it is Firebase app check. That is absolutely what you want to do. Yeah, jailbreaking it. Let's see. Hooking is when they use Frida to connect to your app. So I'm not familiar with Frida, but I'm wondering if this is like a reverse engineering thing. That's kind of what I'm guessing. And or like, even Wireshark or something where you're really, really getting in under the covers. I got my app recently scanned by third party, which highlights all these issues. Yeah. I think app check is what you want. So one of the things that app check does is let you know. I haven't used this myself. I just know it's a feature. So I'm not sure the exact mechanism of alerting, but if the phone on which your app is running has been jailbroken, you are made aware of that. And then you can take whatever action you want. I doubt it like auto kills the app, but probably it just tells you that it's jailbroken. Or maybe maybe the app won't launch. I'm not sure. I haven't used it. It just has like jailbreak detection. That's the only thing I know. Okay, great. Sorry. I had a server in my brain, and so I read that as how are you going to not get your server hacked? And thought, I'm not sure what exact hacking you mean, but I just can't read is the problem. It was a well-formed question in the end. Okay. And now I will poorly form some more Dart web setup. So I want to add, excuse me. Yeah, I want to add Dart Frog to this, and I want to explore this production-like setup like Kev was talking about. So I think what I will do is move. All I've done right now is make this file. So I'll merely copy this code, and now I'm going to remove everything from the web proxy directory that I just made. I'm going to make a new directory called web proxy, and then we'll cd into that, and we'll do a Flutter create. We'll make an empty one. It'll be called app, and the platforms, I'll actually remember this time, will be just web. That's great. And now I'm going to update Dart Frog because Dart Frog has a new feature that I want. And I'm going to type fart instead. So that's good. Dart Frog. Oh my God. How many times? Raise your hand if you too have typed Dart Frog and seen that exact picture of this exact Dart Frog. This is me monthly. This frog and I are incredibly good friends. It is, I got to get him like a Christmas present or something. I definitely have to send him a Christmas card. That is for sure. All right. I'm going to upgrade Dart Frog and apparently copy this comment into the terminal. That's not the best situation. And great. Now we'll say Dart frog create server. Manish Gutam says +1 to something. Nitish, I'm planning to use free ASP package and planning to slowly overlay depending upon the threat level, like higher threat level could kill the app and lower should show undismissible dialogue to solve. Seems pretty good. Granted, if you think like your app is totally compromised and people are literally have the opportunity to reverse your compiled binary, you should kill the app, get it out of memory. I would think. Overall, the pages with credentials. Yeah, because there's also a possibility of people to literally read the memory on the device and get things that way. And in some sense, like that's always a possibility. So you never put something totally secret in your app, but like people could, if the setup, if the phone is compromised enough, people could read things that have just been loaded into memory that are sensitive, like a user's token or something. So I would kill the app if you think that's a concern that you have. All right. I will open this folder again. I don't know how exactly VS Code is going to behave in this situation. There we go. This is great. Let's do a git add everything. Yeah, that's what I want. Let's do a git commit with a message of initial web proxy commit. Of course, it's not the initial commit of this whole repo or repo, as some people say. And I was thinking yesterday on the live stream for the Flutter channel for the release, Jacob Simeonato from Australia kept saying repo, which is how probably half of the English-speaking world pronounces that abbreviation of the word repository. And it sounds weird to me because Americans, for no good reason at all, say repo, which doesn't make a lot of sense because, oh no, we do say repository. We say repository, repo, repository. I kind of say it in the middle. I don't really say repository. I kind of say repository, repository. Actually, I kind of make like an I sound, you know? It's kind of like repository. That's actually what I say. Whoops, made it too big. I really say repository. Repository. Yeah, that's what I say. And so I think the way Jacob pronounces it, it's like repo, is closer. I say like repo when I'm shortening it, which is pretty far from repository, how I pronounce the word. Anyway, English is a silly language. Flutter 3.38.1 will be out soon with the Dart fix. Yeah, sorry for accidentally releasing the beta version of Dart. Team Repo. So, yeah, I mean, I think I would feel like a giant poser if I started to say that like immediately, but maybe I can work toward it. Okay, so Ethan, you got to disambiguate the pronunciation when you spell it here. That's the whole problem with the word. See, this was a great disambiguation of the pronunciation. This could be team repo, 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 repo. All right, so I need to make this file. I saved it. I'm going to put this back in the app directory. There we go. So now I should be able to go into app, cd app, and let's just run this same command again. Wow, how many times? Very simple. And now I want to connect it with Dart Frog. But what I really want to do is I want to set up a situation where like Dart Frog serves my web app. That's what I want. There we got another repo. There's some clear sense to it. I can't deny. But, the repo, a full like repo, which would actually be short for repository. That's obviously crazy. Nobody says repo. I do feel really bad for the rest of the world that English is a language folks have to learn because it's very silly. All right. Let's actually build something here. So this new feature that I want in Dart Frog, I don't remember the exact thing here. So I'm going to go to, let's just go to the repo. Here I am. See, let's go to the repo. There's an issue that I opened and some combination of Felix and Marcus implemented it because they're so wonderful. So it is a closed issue now. And the author is me. Author me. This is the issue. What did I write? I would like to vendor a Flutter web build into Dart Frog's public directory and then serve its index.html file from Dart Frog's own root handler. That's right. So, yeah, this is what I think we're going to get. I don't know where this is documented. It's probably on their site somewhere, but for me, it's documented right here. So, handler get on request. Oh, where does this live? I actually don't know where to write this code. So now I am going to look up their documentation and see if it is been documented. It's probably in like a custom main, custom init method. Yeah, let's see if we get this. Nope. All right. Well, let's just see if we can figure out where to put it. So yeah, path public, document, blah, blah, blah. So the way this is going to ultimately work, I wonder if I could use like a symlink. Oh, that's a little funny. So here's our whole situation. Here's the whole situation. In the app directory, right, you can run Flutter build web, and that gives you a deployable thing. And typically, folks deploy their Flutter build web artifact to, it's just like a totally static thing that is served from something like Firebase hosting, which it's not really an aware server. Just, you want an index.html file? Here you go. But if you're using something like Dart Frog on the back end, then you probably need to integrate these things together. And it's nice for cores reasons, like Kevin was just talking about, if they come from the same domain. So it'd be nice if your Dart Frog server could actually be what serves your Flutter web build, like in production. And then the next trick is to mirror that as closely as possible in your local development, so you still get hot reload on the web and all that stuff. So that's the goal of what I want to get working today. So I just ran Flutter build web, and that is sitting in this directory right here. And so the absolute most simple thing that we can do is in our server directory, we have to make a public folder, I believe. So new folder, this will be public. And I'll basically just copy everything into that. So let's say here, copy everything. So copy recursively from build web out of this directory into server into public. Now, in a new window, I really need to make this bigger. In a new window, I'm going to go into the server and run Dart Frog cd server. And we're going to say Dart Frog dev. Let's see what we get. Houston says English is way more difficult than Dart to be learned. Even C or Rust is easier. Well, Dart is so easy. So that's a, I'd say even pretty easy languages like Spanish, quite, I think, a really approachable, agreeable language. That's way harder to learn than Dart. But the C Rust, that's quite funny. Oh, a lot of chat here I've been missing. For Dash D web server, do we still need to use Dart Chrome debug extension? I've never gotten this to work. Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I honestly do most of that kind of debugging either in Dart's dev tools or in like a native build. But that's a good question. I mean, obviously, if you have a web only bug, then you got to debug it on the web. I don't know the answer to that. What are the best practices to make Flutter app run smoothly with less lag, especially when the UI is heavy and contains multiple animations? Well, first of all, make sure you are not losing sleep over your debug performance. You cannot believe the amount of extra work Flutter does in debug to help you write correct code, but all of those checks are stripped away from a production build. So first, make a production release of your app and run that. That's absolutely the first step. Of course, you can then still have problems, and then it's like there's a million things. Why does Dart still lack backend development? Well, hey, that's what we're working on here, trying to make it better. It's been a long time to go in the market, but it's still, it's JS and Golang, of course, very far ahead on server side stuff. I think the biggest thing that has kept Dart from his reaching a big backend presence was its purely mobile starting point, and that I do see changing in the next few years. I really do. So this sounds like a bug, and I would love if you filed that bug. Let's all switch to Dutch. Yeah, we can sound like we're clearing our throats for the rest of our lives. That was mean of me. But it is a very guttural language. Why can't we just speak to each other in Dart? Now that is some of the thickest Dart copium that I've ever seen, but I do love it. All right. So let's actually see if what I have set up works at all. So 8080, I want this. Oh, wait, no, right. I didn't add the code. So I need to do something. A handler here where we'll run. The question is where to put this code. So I had been writing stuff. Interesting. Handler get on request. It's just not clear to me where this goes. I mean, I guess it goes in the where's the main folder? Index. I literally replace all of this with it. I guess so, because this is the root handler. So yeah, I guess we do this. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know that you could write a magic getter like this with like outside of a class. I literally didn't know that was a thing. Also, I'm confused because how this doesn't take a, oh, this probably returns a function. Why are you not command clicking into this? Feeling like Tim Robinson over here. Okay, not found. Great. So public index.html. Let's make sure that, yeah, there it is, index.html. Okay, am I doing something wrong? Let's look at the custom init thing. So this is where you make a main.dart file, but you have init and run. So that's different than actually making it on request, which really seems like it would go here. This feels like I'm putting it in the right spot. And with the default document, I don't think I have to say /index.html. Let's see here. Yeah, just not found, but I'll try index.html. Still not found. Seed, what am I coding? Well, I'm trying to get some Flutter Web and Dart Frog stuff to work well together. That's public web index.html. Wait, there's a web directory in here? Oh, my command. Oh, good eye, Hex. My command was not good. I honestly forget that this command brings the web directory with it. I think what I actually wanted to do was this. It is what I wanted to do. So I will remove rf public web, and then I'll run the correct command. And now public doesn't have the nested web directory. So Hex gets he's chip leader on being a great debugger so far today. So everybody else get on Hex's level. All right. So now, nice. Look at that. It's so pretty. Cool. Okay. So let's think about the production setup versus the local host setup, because what we don't have right now is a web. What we don't have is like a hot reload on the web locally. So we're kind of living in the production setup currently. Yeah, interesting. So I would want, right, and we can prove this to ourselves. I'll say Flutter run d Chrome. No, so let's stick with web server. And we can change main.dart to have this be goodbye world. No, that's too sad. Hello, solar system. It's real galaxy brain, literally. Yeah, the port's already in use, of course. So you can be 9,000. Literally doesn't matter. We'll pick anything in the world. Oh, you know what I don't need anymore is this earbud in my ear. Hi, do you have some tips on how I can get out of the loop of just watching a course? Is there somewhere I can start programming as a beginner? That's an excellent question. You're using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's where I started. It's a great place. That honestly is a pretty intimidating thing. And yet I've had that with every technology that I've gotten into, including Flutter. And I'd been a developer for 15 plus years before I got into Flutter. No, that's not correct. 10 years, 10 plus years before I got into Flutter. And what the kind of switch that I make when I feel like it's time for the little baby bird to leave the nest and write some code that's not straight out of the tutorial, just aim very, very small, try to do really simple stuff. And the task at hand mentally is to just remember which thing from the tutorial you should type. If you've done a bunch of tutorials, you're using JavaScript. I assume maybe you're using React or Vue or something. Let's say it's React. You've written a lot of components. Maybe you're using functional components. Maybe you're using hooks. I don't know, but like you've built up some knowledge of what you're doing. If you're CSS, maybe you're using Tailwind. Maybe you're writing vanilla CSS. But just put some HTML on the page. Think, all right, no tutorial here. I'm going to give it a selector. And then I'm going to switch to my CSS file and I'm going to write some CSS and I'm going to load it and I'm going to see that the CSS works. And then I'm going to write some JavaScript and like, okay, how do I, what have I done? And like, you can reference the code that you produced while you went through the tutorials when you get stumped. That's kind of like cheating in the other, looking at the other side of the flashcard. But just aim small, start writing, and the mental task in front of you is to remember what you wrote when you were doing the tutorial. And that is how you have to get started, in my opinion. Single bricks. That's right. No ChatGPT, no Stack Overflow. Yep. You've got to do it with your own brain. So, speaking of doing something with your own brain, it's incredibly difficult. So what I'm kind of thinking here, I don't know if this is quite right, but there's an interesting tension around running Flutter Web, where you have hot reload and all the things, and then seamlessly transitioning to the deployed version. And that is that locally, they would kind of have to be using a different port, but in production, they will, of course, use the same port. So if I refresh here, I'm going to continue to see Hello World because this is my vendored build. But if I make a new folder or new tab, and go to 9000, then I get Flutter Web and it says Hello Solar System. This is my hot reloadable build. So this is where the proxy comes in play. So if I have a prefix here of API and I want to load that in, so this is just a local only situation, I believe anyway. I presume this is the local only. My target here is going to also be HTTP localhost. And now this is where I'll just put my other port where I'm running Dart Frog. And I'll say anything that I hit from /API will go to my Dart Frog API. I think this is how you'd have to do it. And then on the server, I'll actually add an API folder or a route to test this. So I'll have a new folder called API and a new file called, I don't know what we should call it, new file. If we make an index.dart here, it would just be /API, but I want to have a nested route and see that that works. So maybe we'll just call this like users.dart. It's real simple. So now I need an on request. I'm going to go back here, copy all of this over to users, then restore this. Okay. So here we're going to return some I think we've got a JSON response. Is anyone else noticing that I basically don't have like any, like nothing works in terms of the Dart server? Like analysis server? I don't like, I could type ASDF here and it's not going to underline it. I don't know why that's happening, but I don't like it. It's ungood is the situation. I wonder if I need to restart VS Code since I've updated Flutter. I wonder if there's some incompatibility. Anyway, whatever. So sure, I'll just return, I guess this would be like an API response. That's what I'll say. API response. And now from main.dart, I also want to say analysis options, formatter. I need to make a little like friggity formatter, trailing commas, preserve, save, analysis options on app. There we go. All right. Oh, is that also related to, wait, so it is formatting. I'm just going to restart VS Code. It no worky good. 338.1 stable. All right. By the way, the fact that Jasper was adopted Flutter documentation infra is very cool. Happy to see the Dart Flutter team supporting community projects. I totally agree. No notes. Totally agree. It's very fun. It was fun that this initiative to use Jasper for the website got just basically no friction all the way up the chain. I don't think it would have happened without Killian's involvement in the project. Killian, the author of Jasper, has done a lot of work, paid work. I think it's paid. I'm pretty sure it's paid. He did a lot of free work first, and then Google paid him, I think. And it wouldn't happen without that. So Killian is just awesome. Okay. I need to say code web proxy again. And let's see if VS Code is awake today. Now. All right, we got red here. So this is a great, nice. And nothing was red before. I don't have any tests. So I'm just going to delete you. And here I was writing some nonsense. Great. This wasn't an actual file. I really thought it was, though. Isn't JSON response not a thing? JSON response? I mean, JSON response? Mm-hmm. I swear that was a thing. Oh, response.json. Also, I didn't even write JSON in my answer, though I will now. It's also funny, we call it JSON, but it's actually just a map. Users, and we'll say this is Mr. User. I don't have a user class, so it's just got to be their name, which is awkward. But here we are. What's your problem? Missing a required trailing comma. Oh, here? Okay. So things are good. Things are good. Yeah, how are things with you? Now we go back to main.dart. And I'm going to convert you into a stateful widget so that I can have an init state where I can make this HTTP requests. Init state. Don't know why it's not auto-completing this. Void super.init state. And then we have to go to the pub spec of app and we'll add the package of HTTP. There it is. Thank you. Very good. And now I will as HTTP. And apparently I need to run flutter get pub figgity fing. There it is. Very good. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah, no, okay. H comes after. That's good stuff. HTTP.get. Now, this is where things get interesting. So we'll also need to kind of inject somewhere what the production, what our server API is. So we'll say final. I'm going to differentiate this in a second. I'm going to figure out how to pass this in a second. HTTP local host, and that's at 8080. That's where Dart Frog is running. This will be our API URL. And it could be const, except I'm probably going to change that in a second. So here, we'll say URI.parse, pass in the API URL, and then I'll just put the response here. And here, I guess we can say print response.body. All right. So let's see if this works. Jasper stuff similar. Just Dart Frog. This is a web proxy stream using some of the new web configuration stuff here. So I'm going to try to route all requests coming into my Flutter web build to an adjacent Dart Frog that's running on a different host, a different port, so that my local Flutter web can talk to my local Dart Frog. And then when I deploy Dart Frog, it will serve a vendored version of my Flutter web app. That is the goal for today. Yeah, you can integrate Jasper with Dart Frog. Oh, Jasper and Dart Frog. I don't think I've tried that. I did Jasper and ServerPod a couple streams ago. Didn't go great. That documentation had gotten stale. And I talked to Killian after, and he told me what I needed to do, and then I just haven't been able to get back to it. So I think this will work. There's a small chance of it. I will have to restart everything because I killed Chrome, or I killed VS Code where they were running. So let's go into the server, and here we'll say Dartfrog dev. Now, from local on the server, it will still serve the old vendored version, right? So if I go to 8080, this will still say hello world because I haven't copied over the new build yet. But now I'll make a new tab, tab in my terminal, and we'll go into the app. And here I'll say web server. There we go. So this should run on port 9000, thanks to the new config file. And when it runs, it will make a ping to the, it'll send a request to the server, and it will print. Everyone will be happy, especially me. Oh, of course, cores because of the friggin' port difference. Okay, so now we got to do cores here. Still wish this was easier. All right, so we need some headers here, and then I'm gonna have to look up the headers for cores because of course I don't remember what they are. Gemini. Actually, let me say here. Gemini.google. Oh, Windows all over the place. Okay, I'm back. What are the correct cores headers a server should return to allow a different client to load? Oh, wait, no, the cores headers are going to have to come from Dart Frog. This isn't even correct. Or maybe it is. I don't know. This is a proxy, so I guess this is correct. What are the cores headers a server should allow to should return to allow a different client to load content? Whatever. Question mark. Yeah, always the problem indeed. The URL for the Flutter app should be 9000/API. Oh. That is an extraordinarily good point. Okay, Simeon, you are now on level with Hex as a top tier debugger. Very good. Also, you actually anticipated that bug before I ran into it. So quite good. All right. Yes, it would be so mandatory. All three of these for real. So, okay. I'm going to put you over here, So we need apparently this header. I don't think I have to put the X in front of it. And then the value here. So this is the other host. So that'll be HTTP localhost 9000? No, 8080? I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, so specifies which origins are allowed to access the resource. So I'm not actually sure if this is right because this is a wait a minute. Why did we have cores issues? Wasn't the whole point of this that the proxy was going to solve that? So 8080, this would be a server talking to another server. Oh, I'm actually pretty confused right now. Servers don't have cores with each other. Only browsers have cores. Access to fetch 8080 from origin 9000 has been blocked. But I would have thought the web server was sending the request like on my behalf, and yet it is not. Yeah, so yes. What I had thought was going on is that the web server that runs when I ran -d web -server, it would return these headers. Oh, it's Hex again. Hex and Simian are in a battle for who's the best debugger. Neck and neck, folks. So there's 3 players involved, right? Starting, we're going to do a left to right read order here. The first player is Flutter Web running at Flutter run -d web -server with the port 9000. That's the first player. And then it's making a request in my mental model of how this works. It may not be correct. Sadly, I only had Kevin for 20 minutes. Is that there is another web server running. This has to be correct. There is another web server running, and that is running on port 9000. And that's what's serving Flutter Web. And then when we use these shenanigans and like this proxy here, and forget the headers so far, this is, I think, gibberish. What would happen is when there's an incoming request to /API to the server running on port 9000, it forwards that request on my behalf to 8000 or 8080 and sends along the rest of the path as well. And then 2 servers talking to each other like don't have cores issues. So something's going on here. People have ideas in the chat. Let's see. I'm going to go in order. I think the API URL should be localhost 9000. So that would be, I think you're talking about here. I don't think so, because localhost 9, the target for this web server is Dart Frog running on 8080. I think it should be 8080. You'll have to add cores to Dart Frog. No, it seems like it based on the error I'm getting, but I thought that would not be the case. The Flutter apps points to 8080/API and not 9000. Flutter app points to. So Simeon, are you saying that the Flutter app points? I think you might be talking to someone else and not me. And if so, then I agree with you. Yes, Flutter app. Well, the Flutter app is running on 9000 and then proxies to 8080. That's my understanding of how this works. Okay, so code doctor, you're saying no inside Flutter. Oh. Did I what did I write here? Oh my goodness. Is this what you were all saying? You're all so var in the app. Yeah, oh my gosh. Whoops, I put the wrong thing. But yeah, you're all saying it. Well, I don't know who's the best debugger now because there's a lot of contenders. This is great. I think it's going to work. So now I'm going to refresh. Let's see. Well, what did we get? We got our whole. We didn't get the API response. It printed a HTML document, So it didn't seem to keep the API/users. Oh, I'm so bad at this. I'm just so bad at what I'm trying to do. I had to say /users. Oh my goodness. Still didn't work. I did think that one was going to work. Let's make sure that Dart web server restarted. Forming hot restart. This is not the fastest thing in the world. I bet this hot restart is the issue. Wow. Slow. Timed out. Yeah. Okay. So let's try again. I'm excited for this to work. And then I'll get to say my favorite line. Never in doubt. Holy smokes. This is... There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Refresh. Mr. User. Oh, yeah. That's good. That's good. Very good, Peter. So now, the next question is how do I not hard code this? And this is extremely established, but I always look this up and never really committed to memory. So I'm going to do it again. We, of course, then at deploy time want to be able to not point to localhost, but to our actual domain. So I will return to Gemini. Also, I can now get rid of these headers. I'm happy to not need those headers. And I will ask Gemini a new question, a new chat. And this new chat will say, what am I doing? Window.location.origin. Oh, well. That would work if this was only ever a web app ever. But I will want to have it also be a mobile app in theory. So again, what am I working on? Oh yeah. How do let's see, what is the best way to pass configuration options to my Flutter app, like, Dart define or whatnot? What is the best way to pass configuration options to my Flutter app? Should I use Dart define or should I use something else? I don't know. We'll see what it says. Also, I'm covering the conversation here, so I'll put it on this side. The theme looks like main app and stateful widget as Airzo because they're red. Yeah, these are the things that, string from environment, and then with Dart define, these are the things that I never really commit to memory. So, Dart define with flavors. Okay, that seems pretty good. And then in Dart code, it's almost like Code Doctor was just saying to do this. Okay, so what are some other ones? Yeah, Flutter.env, I'm not going to use that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it will be via Dart define. And then I'll pull the value out of this. That's exciting. Oh, and it still gets to be const. That makes sense because we passed it in at build time. So, API base URL. Sure, let's call it that. And now I'll add my favorite file in any project. Make file. In here, it will say like run server. And this will cd into the server directory and run dart frog dev. And then we'll have a run web. Run web. That'll cd into app and run Flutter. No, so Dart define. What order did it go in? It was after. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong tab. Flutter run, then Dart define. That's right. That's right. Flutter run, Dart define, web, base URL, API base URL equals. So for localhost, it is HTTP. I don't think I need quotes. HTTP localhost 9,000, and that's it, I believe. And then -d web -server. The syntax highlighting on this is quite poor. I will use some quotes here. Maybe that'll help. It didn't help. Great. Make is quite confused about my slashes. And then for my final trick, we would have a like build web. And this would be cd into app and Flutter build web. And I'm guessing, so here, yeah, Flutter build web. Oh, this would get to go at the end of the whole thing. Yeah. Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. And this will just be like HTTPS, real, whatever fake domain it had, prod.api.com. Perfect. And whoever owns like example.com, they must just be DDoSed all the time. And then the last thing that we would do is say cd into app and into build and into web and copy recursively everything from the directory into out of web, out of build, out of app. I guess I don't really want to do that. It's kind of annoying. We'll just copy recursively out of app, build, web, and I'll do the /* here, and we'll copy this to server public. So that would set us up to deploy, and then we do like, Firebase deploy hosting or something. Firebase deploy only equals hosting, but I'm not doing that. So I'm commenting it out. All right, let's see if these commands work. If so, calling this one a victory. By the way, the API URL should be final variable can be constant. I think I changed it to that. Oh, I didn't. Okay, that's great. All right. I just use Dart files instead of make files and then run the Dart tools like run tools, run server. Yeah, you can do that, but it's a little more work to like set up the little bin file to run that code. That's one thing about Bash. If you're doing anything complicated, it's a nightmare. If you're doing anything simple, it is the fastest way. Okay, so the server's still running. I don't really care about that. Nothing has changed. That's fine. First thing I want to test is make run web. So this should still work. Nice. Oh, I'm in the app directory. That's the problem. Make run web. Here we go. Waiting for connection from the web server. Waiting for Godot. Waiting for Flutter. As per the beginning of the stream. Okay. 9,000. Refresh. Print Mr. User. Didn't work. Okay. I'm currently set up to have 2 trailing slashes, so that's potentially the problem. I don't know if 2 trailing slashes would make it break. Yeah, no requests seem to come in here. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this trailing slash. It also, yeah, there's not one here. Okay. Kill. Restart. Ahmed, are you out of hard drive space? If so, that is quite a problem. You will need to get more hard drive space. And I wish you luck in that endeavor. Look at that. Mr. User, so good. So now I'm going to run Flutter build web. And that just shouldn't work. But we should see it try to hit this request. So I'm going to put a little print statement in here first. So this will be like the raw URL. Okay. So now I'll say make build web. And this should work. Oh, you know what the other thing that I was imagining was just a normal old environment variable, like, my env var equals whatever, and then you do flutter run or build or whatever. This is the other thing I was thinking of. But yeah, we want to do Dart define. Okay, ran the build. That's good. The server should be none the wiser. So if I refresh here, we should see the request, of course, fail because prod.api.com is not ready for us. But we should see that URL print. Yes, it did. Awesome. So I think this is this is the setup that you would do. There's probably still smarter ways to do it, but I think we've connected all the dots. If you wanted to have Dart Frog, obviously you could use other server-side things as well, deployed to maybe Cloud Run, and you've got a dynamic API and all that stuff going on. Serve your Flutter web. And of course, you could have Dart Frog serve, maybe you'd use Jasper for this if you wanted it to serve actual HTML content for like the logged out state. You could set up all of these shenanigans just for the logged in state. So you get good SEO and all that stuff on the logged out state, but then Flutter web magic once users are logged in and SEO doesn't matter anymore. Depending on your app, obviously, like for e-commerce, you always need SEO on even pages that logged in users are looking at. But you have Dart Frog serving this in production from the same domain. And then Dart Frog is able, or Flutter Web is able to talk to Dart Frog on both the local development setup and on the deployed production setup. And the magic comes from two files, one of which is extremely optional. You could capture these commands, not in a make file, certainly, or here. So this is one thing. Start to find the two URLs, and then to bring it all together locally, you need to use the new web dev config file, specifically because this proxy command was not available before. Actually, maybe you can use the proxy in the CLI still, but I would use the file. And this is what routes subsequent requests from a hot reloadable Flutter web locally to the server, because they come in on 9,000. That's where hot reloadable Flutter web is running. And if the request that comes in starts with API, the whole thing gets sent over to Dart Frog's API. And then it just coded in Dart Frog an API directory with a file. And that's it. I will now commit all of this and push it to the repo. Oh, I deleted the stuff after my initial commit, I think, which means, oh yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to put some things in the git ignore here. So do I have everything in build? Okay, yeah, that's in server. So server git ignore, we are going to get rid of, I think I'm just not going to save everything in build. You might do something differently if you have permanent artifacts in build, but I don't. And yet it didn't work because I think I needed to use 2 stars. Git ignore on the server, 2 stars. Why are these things not going away? Server, git ignore. Oh, this is build. I need to do this for public. I'm just not like smart is the problem. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, so I will now commit Oh, I don't really want, let's close this repository. I'm not worrying about the actual Flutter repository right now. Here we have a local Dart Frog plus hot reloadable Flutter web setup. Plus, let's see, it's local or prod Dart Frog plus hot reloadable web. That's what it is. Commit and push. Very good. It's been a minute since I've looked at chat, so I'm going to read what y'all have been going on about, and then we'll be all done. This was a pretty successful day, I think. Yeah, it was. I had final on the left, then const. That was correct. Let's see. What else is going on here? .env or a different thing? Yeah, you certainly can. Another way to do it, of course, is you have your main.dart file. Just supply those things, and you could have like main_dev.dart. And when you build, you set main.dart as your entry point. And when you don't build, you set, or when you're just debugging, you use main_dev, whatever. Bash scripts are a problem if you want to have Windows build support. That's true. That is fair. Yeah, I haven't developed on Windows since I was in college. I don't think I've even really been on teams where people have been developing on Windows since I was in college, but that is absolutely fair. That is one heck of a color scheme for VS Code. How can you stand it with so little contrast? Oh, that's interesting. It strikes you as having low contrast. It just seems, maybe I guess my eye is just very used to it at this point. Can Firebase run Dart Frog? No, I would use Cloud Run for this. Cloud Run is the way. And Dart Frog has an awesome deployment story to Cloud Run. Dart Frog is just ready to go. Absolutely wonderful developer experience. When you run build, you get the complete artifact that you would need to deploy. There's a Docker file that's ready to go. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, I don't know how this is going, but I like the start of it. I don't normally ask here, but since we're among friends, yes, we are, I thought I would ask. I can't capture the camera natively with Flutter on my Raspberry Pi. Does anyone know how to do this? My guess is because the camera plugin is actually kind of mobile only and probably doesn't have good Linux support. And I think that is likely the issue that you're running into. And it's kind of unfortunate. And there was a question yesterday, literally about the camera plugin in the Q&A, and Michael talked about it. Unfortunately, the answer was kind of need help from the community on this. Continuing to read messages. Why does the Flutter repo keep changing even when you don't change it? Well, it shouldn't be changing on its own. some person is doing something to change it. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Recently started developing a Flutter app for fun. Great. USDA? Is that like the quality of beef? When can we expect nested scroll view being fixed? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about this particular bug that you're talking about. Is this where... No, I don't know what you're talking about. But I would say the scrolling team is doing their best. Keep having to use force when upgrading. Something's wrong. If you are using the repository as just like your source of Flutter and you're not working on it, you can always just blow it away and git clone it again. It sounds like maybe something got out of sync. That is, whenever I use a repository in that way, or I know that I've committed all my stuff and so I don't care, committed and pushed, of course, you just blow the whole directory away and git clone again. And that sometimes is the fastest way to reset git shenanigans. Craig, do you have a talk with Remy, the creator of RiverPod? I think I saw one a while ago. Have you tried V3? It's kind of cool. Oh, I know. I'm totally unaware of RiverPod V3. I would love to have Remy on and talk about the differences. That'd be great. If we talk about Flutter, I hope native views will be available on desktop soon. Makes two of us. Canonical, the folks behind Linux, are awesome, and they have been really cooking on this stuff. Can we expect the liquid glass on iOS or Mac from Flutter widget future updates? The state of liquid glass, I think, is in a pretty interesting place. I don't know where it's going to be, where it'll land in like a year. There's no less than 15 packages on Pub taking a stab at a liquid glass implementation, and in some sense that's like good and bad, because you have 15 plugins to look at to figure out which ones are nailing the request, or which ones are nailing the implementation most accurately. And then on the other hand, it's a good thing, because if one doesn't quite work, there's 14 more to try. So in my experience, most of them look pretty good. Now, and also you got to remember, this stuff is finally launched now, but for most of the time that liquid glass has existed, like since it was announced at WWDC to the actual public release of the iOS version, iOS 26, I guess, they were changing it all the time. So definitely a moving target, and the Flutter team itself definitely not going to make an attempt at an official Flutter implementation of liquid glass while it was changing every month or so. But now it's probably pretty settled, and also it's been a while since I've looked at those packages, so I don't know the state of how close they are to current liquid glass. So I think there's just still a lot of pins in the air on this, and it will be interesting to see where everything lands. I thought Canonical does multi-window. They do that amongst other desktop things. I'm curious how many Flutter apps really are targeting Cupertino or liquid glass presentation. Of course, you would know, because Flutter's goal is to replicate them. Certainly the goal is to not be able to tell. Absolutely. But you make another point here about Flutter apps that probably just have their own brand and don't really want Material or Cupertino at all, and maybe don't want liquid glass. I don't think everyone likes liquid glass. I mean, the day it was announced, it had talk about bad contrast. They've really improved the UX and the readability of things under the effect of liquid glass since. But I think there probably are a lot of Flutter apps that actually actively don't want those effects. But of course, for the ones that do, we want them to be able to have extremely high fidelity versions of them. Indiscernible. They do and don't. I'm guessing this is about Canonical. I've been hearing about them working on it for over a year, but no real stuff coming out. I don't know what their staffing level is on it, but they use Flutter for their App Store app, so they're quite committed to it. But even if they've got a couple people working on it, which I think is maybe more than they have, I imagine it would take a while. Google brings to bear a lot of people to work on Flutter. Oh, liquid glass changed again in 26.1. Yeah, so the way the target is moving, and it's changing a lot in my opinion, my experience, because I think even Apple would say it's not quite there yet. They're not happy with it yet. They know they like the concept. They know they like what they're working with, but it's not quite there. Oh, my wife is also a UXer. Interesting. Wait, it updated itself? Don't you have to approve that? I'm looking at my phone now to see what version it is. Someone asked earlier what phone I use. I use an iPhone. I also have a Pixel 9, but my primary phone is an iPhone. I have a 15. Yeah, what version am I on? Mine probably also wants to update, but I haven't done it. I don't believe. Great stuff. How do we get Flutter Web to stay in the output of Flutter devices? Would you want that? That's an interesting question. I don't know if that makes sense, actually. I don't think it would, because web-server, the flow there is that it starts a server, which is kind of a singleton situation. So it's either running or it's not. And if it's running, you don't need to attach to it. You just open a browser and hit the URL. If it's not running, then you would need to start it. And I guess maybe that's what you want, it to be able to start it from the devices list. And I guess that makes sense. But I haven't tried that. I guess from what you're saying, it doesn't work. And that would be a good feature request to file. Oh, you see that Flutter Devices has a hidden show web server device flag. And does that work, or is that broken? Flutter does not run on Chrome browser through admin privilege, but runs through user privilege. Is that in response to something? What about working with the native side? What about working with the native side? All right, folks. I'm going to wrap quite soon here, although it is fun to just read messages and respond. But get any last thoughts in, because probably in less than 5 minutes, I'm going to call it. Should I use one project for Android and iOS app, or should I use different projects for them? ChatGPT is telling me to not use one project. Oh my goodness. That is wild advice. Absolutely use one project. Like, wow, definitely, definitely use one project. What is ChatGPT on about? I've never even thought of not using one project for. Yeah, indeed. That is a mighty hallucination. Can we build a voice over IP calling app just like WhatsApp in Flutter? Well, short answer there is yes, because all the local libraries are available to you. The longer answer is still yes. So Khan on the Flutter developer relations team built an app to have a live phone call with like Gemini. And the only problems that you would possibly have of, when you tried to use native voice over IP libraries, whatever libraries are required to do that, would be like maybe if the data stream was too intense, like too much data to copy from the native layer into Dart. Every time you get another packet of audio data, but it's not too much because Khan has already built that app. So yeah, you definitely can do that. And it will get easier to hit those native libraries as the native interop project continues to make progress. Do you know if there's a plan to have annotation processors in Dart instead of Build Runner? There are some pie in the sky dreams that some folks on the Dart language team have around maybe getting a little radical here. I don't know if any of those are going to happen in the next year or two at a minimum, but Build Runner itself is getting a lot faster. So I'm not sure what features you want out of those annotation processors. Well, you're saying instead of Build Runner, yes, you want to totally replace Build Runner. Well, Build Runner is getting a lot faster. It was so slow for so long because of these really ancient, archaic constraints that don't really matter anymore. And so some folks on the Dart team have been working on releasing it from those constraints, and that is allowing for some speed ups, like really, really big speed ups. And then Michael Thompson yesterday in the AMA at Flutter Flight Plans shared that there's an experimental AOT flag for Build Runner that gives you another 5 to 10x speed up. So definitely use that. All right. I'm not going to lie. I don't know much about this, like the admin privileges. Why doesn't Chrome run through admin privileges? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert there. That is a good question. If you were to ask Kevin Moore that question on Blue Sky, I bet you'd get an answer. And it is a good question, but I am not an expert on it. All right, folks, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for all joining in. I put this stream up on YouTube less than 10 minutes, I think, before I went live. So it really is an honor to have so many folks here chatting. A lot of fun today. Got a pretty cool thing working, I think, with Dart Frog and the new proxy configuration file and whatnot. So that was really fun for me. I absolutely intend to use that technology in different projects, both in and out of work. So, folks, thank you so much for joining. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And until next time, happy fluttering.